Morning, Cactus here. It's 28 October, a beautiful sunny day, a Tuesday. We're supposed to have another nice one tomorrow and then rain. So what a beautiful fall, I can't even tell you. So good that I had to stop everything during the week and get out for one last camp in the camper van. So I headed west up the Highway 17 to a place I've been before called Klock. That's K-L-O-C-K, Klock. Klock was a rail stop back in the day. The Ottawa River is down here, and the old rail line is there. It's used by ATVs and snow machines. We'll see if it's been developed yet into a proper trail, but I'm not sure. So it's a rough old road coming down here from Highway 17. I'm hoping that nobody is got the good spots down there, and I could set up camp tonight and have a fire one last time. I got the camper van oiled underneath, no drip oil. I got most of the touch-up paint body work done, flaking paint and things. So we're gonna put it away sometime in November. So one thing I never noticed at Klock was there appears to be what I thought was a rock wall, but it may be a foundation of a building, be it a barn or a big house or kind of a mill or something. There is history on Klock on the internet, not a hell of a lot, but it kind of tells the history of the Klock family and all that, which is a name up this way in the Ottawa North Bay area. I don't know. I think if it was a wall, it would just keep on going. I see a piece of metal. So I think it was a barn or something, because it's not very squared away. Oh, I did this. I seen one piece of metal sticking out, and I started yanking. I think they're old pieces of car. Probably 1930s cars or 20s cars. So this place is worth a prowl and a dig, and maybe even today. I was going to go down to the rail line where you could see on topographic maps from back in the day that there was a building down there. It was probably the little railway building, which would have been a tiny little thing. So how do you even begin to look around here? I do have a metal detector, and I'll bet there's many bits of metal everywhere, buried and exposed like this. Old barrel ring. And this chunk of heavy steel. My word. Yeah. So there's bound to be lots of stuff. What would be really groovy is finding a pile of tin cans, but I think if they would go back almost 100 years, they're probably rotted away to nothing. Most can piles I'm finding are 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s. Now I did notice this from afar. Somebody like me, some other weirdo, has been picking here and digging up bottle shards. Nice to find a full one. Look at the thick bottles. These are old. Lots of bubbles in them. Lots of aqua coloring. Beautiful. Swirls. Really rough made glass. This is lovely to find. No identifying maker's mark. Just a local glass maker from back in the day, probably. Or wherever they came from. There's a bone. Dark glass. There's a square nail. Yeah, somebody's been really picking. Such a gorgeous, ruffled green bottle. Lots of bubbles and flaws. That's the stuff you want to find. So how many people have been picking here over the days? Knuckle. There's a flask with a cork top. amber. More aqua glass. Same bottles. Here's some writing. That might be a preserve jar, maybe. Who knows? Piece of porcelain from a plate. Ooh, some designs. Medicine bottle. Some sort. Here's some magnesium glass. Purple. Purple. That is what you want to find. So I don't know how I'm going to do this. I did want to walk up the tracks a little bit. I might have to come back. So I won't dig in and set up camp. Lots of bones. Probably slaughtered a few cows and pigs here. Another nice design. Wow, look at that. They're all cork tops. Very interesting. More purple glass. Yeah, this is an old site. Look at the bubbles in there, eh? That's not wild. Somebody was nice and put that all up here for display. Thank you. Piece of window. Glass, glass, glass. Another medicine bottle. A little stopper would have went in it. Piece of a boot. Yeah, somebody really did a dig here. Yeah, that seems to be it. So I'm going to take a quick walk around and head down below and try and figure out where the station used to be. There should be garbage around there. Looks like we had a fire. That's melted. All right. Out for now. One more thing here. Here's a shot of that wall that all the glass is sitting on. So it is kind of squared away, not as sloppy as a fence wall. So that's highly likely a building foundation. Yes. I ventured back a little far here, and we have a kettle. The bottom rotted out. A little bit of porcelain on it. A little thin coating. Boy, I need to do like a zigzag back and forth to see what pops up. Buried treasure. All right, let's work our way back. Paint can. Perhaps green. That old-fashioned green paint. Or it's moss. Galvanized bucket, which did not survive. So here we are. Just came down that road. Here's the old railway bed, and it's not developed for proper ATVing. And there's a bridge over the Amman Creek here that's quite blocked off, so could be the railway still owns it, I don't know. But they really got a pile of rocks there. I camped down there once with my beautiful lady. We backed in. It was okay, a little rocky. I'm gonna go down here and find a level spot. And there's a nice fire pit down there with garbage that I got to truck out of here. Down here is a little bit more of a boat launch, a real rough one. That's an option too. But I was walking down here because I seen that the railway station used to be on this side at one time. And I did notice where I thought it might be, and there was a porcelain pot and an old kettle and an old green bottle. But I started wandering on the hill here, the rocky hill, and I found some cans, a can pile. So where there's cans, maybe there's bottles. So I got my rake and me shovel. We're gonna go have a little triad. I was gonna walk down the railway that way, and I still might for an hour or so. What time is it? Almost 2 o'clock. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. So I put a little marker out here somewhere of a piece of spruce tree, and of course it's hard to pick out. Where was that? Oh, I see it. So we'll look up Klock history later on. I know there used to be a station, a little bit of a settlement, a few families. There might have been a mill, maybe a sawmill. There's my marker. And it's just one of those tiny little communities, barely a community, that just couldn't hang on. There was nothing here to keep them. Logging came and went. Jobs dried up. No good for farming, too many rocks. So, here's a big rock. That's my marker where the cans are. I took my sweatshirt off because I know this raking and digging is a sweaty job. So the first thing I seen is this floor polish. I stepped on it. I heard it go when I stepped on it in there, I think it was, or over there. And I started snooping around, and I found cans. Boy, it's hard to see the leaves. See, here's some here. So we're gonna kind of rake around and see what turns up. This is called Success Polishing Floor Wax. Brighter, harder, waterproof finish for all floors without rubbing. Contains carnauba. The Canadian product or what? Yep, Canada right there. Interesting. Not exactly a keeper, it's rusty, but we'll just put it up here. Maybe somebody will find it. All right. Well, that is hard work. Digging that stuff. Old page wire fence here. Whew. So, it seems to be 50s, 60s, maybe 70s. Plastic bag there. Some giveaways. There's old stuff, but it's not old enough. Lots of ketchup bottles as usual. Snap. Snap brand. That sounds familiar. Coca-Cola, lots of Javix bottles embossed. This is a maple syrup bottle from Quebec. That does say 1933 on it, but that might be established. I don't think it's that old. You'd think in 1933 they'd be putting a cork in it, not a screw top. Lots of whiskey bottles, lots of green, whatever liquor bottles those are, or wine. Javix in all sizes. St. Lawrence corn oil. Anybody remember that? Cream colored jar that held cream, most likely. A few blue Vicks Vapor Rub. They're better when they're a lot older. Booze bottles from the railway workers. Salt or pepper shaker, broken. Coca-Cola. So it's not a terribly old pile, unless you got to get down lower. I feel like they burnt it once in a while, back in the day. Another mini Vicks. Some people like those. I think I'm gonna stop this spot anyway. Ooh, this still has some product in it. Plastic cap. Still a nice looking bottle. Tamagami dry ginger ale from the McDonald bottlers of North Bay and area. That was a good ginger ale, as I recall, as a kid. My dad was from sort of up that way back in the day. Another floor polish. That's about it. There is a tobacco tin over there, but you can't read it. It'd be nice to find a clean one someday. So maybe just another little poking around and go for a walk. Because this is back-breaking work. Over and out. Done digging. Nothing's old enough. Nothing interesting enough. Came down that hill, which is pretty steep. Hard to judge by here. And I got this lovely cedar pine paradise here. And I'm reasonably level here on the upper Ottawa River. Past Du Riviere, just outside the Ottawa Valley, outside of Renfrew County. Free camping, folks. Free camping. Great place to live, this area. Lots of free camping. Piggies left their garbage, and they were hunters because they've got urine scent here. So, you know, come on, guys. You're already identifying that you're a hunter. There's a dock here, which probably goes around the point there. There's more, a better boat launch. There's a truck over there. I was going to camp there, but there's a truck there, and he might be at that camp on the Quebec side. That's all wilderness. You will find logging roads way back, but it's wilderness. There's no civilization. So this is Klock. This is where life happened. Might have been a little stop for the steam ferries going to Ottawa, perhaps. I don't know how the river worked here before the dams. Lots of trees cut here for firewood over the years. Not a terribly bad thing, but because it's all rocky. I gotta find some deadfall and get some firewood going for here with my electric chainsaw. I'm gonna go for a walk first. We'll show you the bridge over the Amand Creek. I don't think it's a river. Just grab the rake in case there's something interesting to rake up. Would you look at that? Like this place is not near any towns. Somebody went out of their way to dump their TVs here in this little paradise. Despicable. So, as I said, my love of my life and I camped right about here near that sign. We backed in the old Dodge camper we had, and we just sparked up a fire right on the stones here, so it was relatively safe. They really don't want anybody on this bridge. Mainly that means snow machines and ATVs and or trucks, cars. It's too bad, because it would make a great trail. So I remember seeing barbed wire in places in here roaming around before, and we seen it in the woods and we were garbage picking. So they were trying to keep maybe some cows from getting on the tracks or something, I suspect. It's actually nice down there. Nice little creek. Seems to be a pretty solid bridge. Black, murky, mineralized water. Oh, yowza, yowza. Another path going here. Yeah, if you just wanted to come and tent there, I think there's a good spot down there too, if I remember correctly. Jesus, they do not want people driving here. That's Canada for you. Not like other countries where it's like, go for it. You want to take a chance? Risk your life? You're on your own. No stupid lawsuits. Okay, I don't know how far I'm going here, but let's just enjoy this nice weather. Hey, there's a transmission line still standing, pole. The insulators are all clear, one white one, nothing good. I'd love to find a purple one. Someday, brother, someday. So I went about a kilometer and there's nothing. It's 3:30. I think there's nothing. Look at the maps. Somebody has some docks or something on the water about 4 or 5 kilometers away. Too late in the day. So the bridge is over there. You might be able to hear the rapids underneath it. Interesting, the fence continues. The page wire fence. From back in the day. The only thing I could fathom, because this was such a wilderness area, that this settlement here had some cows just wandering around, maybe they're horses, and they didn't want them on the tracks. So it would be neat to see where that fence ends and maybe wraps around. Yeah, I'm on a big rock here. I think I gotta get down. Back this way. Yeah, this is where I thought I remembered a spot was. So Amon Creek comes out here, so the bridge is up there. So cross the bridge and take the path in to the left towards the Ottawa River. And there is a spot here. If you're canoeing or just you're driving here and you're gonna cart your tent in, maybe not the best spot down here, but there's a fire pit, rocks to sit on, and lots of places for a hammock. Notice the water is high here. The water is low everywhere. It's like a lowest in a long time, below the Ralston Swisha Dam, downstream. They keep it high here so that they can feed that dam. Yeah, nice soft trails. I'm sure there's somewhere to plop your tent down if you look around. Great place for kids too, if you got kids that are able to run around by themselves. Here we go, another campsite. There's magical little trails going around. This is still a little lumpy, but it's something. Then it turns into a deer trail. Yeah, the water drops off really quick, so you can just jump in and you'll be swimming. That's Santa Claus Island. There's no civilization on it. I don't know what you'd find on it, probably nothing. You never know. You could find an old explorer artifact or indigenous arrowhead, who knows, you know. So this hasn't been used in a long time. Nobody stayed here. So the whole thing's better for hammock tenting, perhaps. And in this part of the country, with all these trees, you're probably better off the hammock. I have a hammock. I have 2 hammocks. One's kind of thermal as well, that my lady got for me at Christmas one year, and I haven't used them yet. I've been thinking I was going to bring them on the scooter trips, but I haven't yet. We'll try it someday. Ah, very nice, very nice. Look at that. Nice view. Let's get over there. Here we go. Very nice. Just a great spot to hang out. Build a house right there. Wouldn't that be sweet? In the spring, I guess the water would be coming right through here like crazy. On this side too. Look at that old bridge. All concrete. They even just like poured the excess here to hold everything together. Here's the original stone bottom. When they first built, it probably would have been made out of wood in the 1800s going west. Like a Pembroke-Mattawa line, if there were such a thing. There probably was. Pembroke-Perry Sound, something like that. I did tell my lady where I'm going to be. It's just in case I fall off a bridge or something. Wow. Wow, what a fall. What a remarkable fall. Tuesday, 28th October. I think we got some sunshine again tomorrow. I have appointments though. And it's pretty darn good chance of rain for at least a couple of days after that. So we need rain. It's been dry. There's been forest fires. But wow, what a time for getting out in the fall. It's been great. Absolutely fantastic. I got a drone, a DJI Neo drone from my lovely lady for my birthday. And I've charged it, but I've not read up on it or studied it or tried it even. So I don't want to lose it. So I want to make sure I sit down and concentrate on how that thing works and watch a few YouTube videos on it. Okay, the walk is over. Time to get the cordless still chainsaw out and find some deadfall, some firewood. Could be a little tricky, we'll see. The place has been picked through, everything close to the fire pit. Boy, oh boy. It doesn't get any better than this. 4:30. I can feel the sun going down. Lighten up the Quebec hills. Nice and quiet here. I can hear the waterfalls at the bridge. Well, I've done my chores. I've got lots of firewood gathered. The battery-powered chainsaw works pretty good. Let's see here, I got some history on Klock. Just look at these lovely Quebec hills as I read. A little Facebook post, I'm not going to say who, because I don't know if they want to be mentioned. And it says, ever heard of Klock? K-L-O-C-K. Not many have. The one-time village in Nipissing District will appear in my follow-up to Ghost Towns of Ontario's Cottage Country. I wonder what that is. We'll have to try and find that. Here's a brief snippet. Klock, also known as Klock's Mills, was located 15 kilometers east of Mattawa on the Ottawa River. Here we are. It's named for Richard H. Klock, who had extensive timber limits along the Ottawa, the Amand River, so it is a river, not a creek, and around Lake Temiskaming, further north. The community began as a sawmill and depot for Klock's logging operations, but quickly grew into a real village. Klock built himself a fine home, a working farm, and was joined by a couple of stores, a church, a schoolhouse, and boarding house. Klock had wooden sidewalks built and gas street lamps installed. Wow, you would never know. I wonder if that boarding house was that foundation I was lurking around in, the broken glass. Time worked against any sawmill town as eventually the resources ran out. Klock was no exception. It dwindled during the first 3 decades of the 20th century and then was largely flooded when the Otto Holden Dam was built in 1952. So, like a lot of towns on the Ottawa River above the Ralston Swisha Dam, going west and north, they got flooded out. They had to move. They had to either lift their houses and trailer them to a higher ground, or they were just knocked down. So in the water here is probably some old foundations and things to find. Now, we did see one further back up the road, and I hope I have enough time in the morning to do a dig. I got to get home and get to some appointments, but yeah, there were some things going on here, and if you had more time and more patience and do a really slow crawl around and find the clues and do some raking and some digging, you might find something real interesting. So unfortunately today, all I found was maybe some 1950s, 60s, possibly even 70s behind what I think was the railway station. And here's a picture of the railway station, of where I think that it may have been, judging on an old map I seen, the Ontario topographic maps, and some chunks of concrete, and the garbage that was maybe behind this on the hill. You see there's a hill behind there where I was digging. I think that's where it was. And then we have the foundation up the road. So there might be other things to find too, but we'll have to come another day or get up early in the morning if the sun's up. If it's bright enough, I've got to be back by 9:30 or so. So we'll see. So I'm going to spark up this fire. I'm going to have me a fine Czech beer and kick back for a while. Listen to some podcasts. Get a little Theo Vaughn going, or some Are You Garbage, or some Rogan or something. Something enjoyable, something funny. Dusk is upon us. Just remember, Santa Claus Island. That's where Santa actually lives. Hot damn. It's gonna be a long, long winter, boy, I'll tell you what. Enjoy it while you can.